people think of you? How do you stop considering or being overrun by other people's opinions and making them matter more than your own opinion about yourself? That is what we're going to be talking about today. If you're brand new to me, my name is Susan McVeigh, and I am a married mama of two and a business sales and wealth strategist. And here on this channel, we talk about all things related to business and entrepreneurship, which includes sales and money with some faith and family thrown in the mix, because hashtag real life. So today on New Year's Eve, I wanted to share a personal story. Well, I guess they're all personal because they're all stories that they're connected to me. But regardless, I wanted to share an example of what it looks like, what it feels like when you allow other people's opinions of you, which frankly don't really matter, including mine of you, and you allow them to trip you up and get in your way, because it can be very insidious and it can be very like teensy weensy tiny how they slip in, and it can prevent you from being able to do all the things that you actually want to do. So tonight on this eve, as we flip over from 2024 into 2025 at the time that we're doing this live, I want us to just consider what it is that we're allowing other people to have power over our own thoughts, words, actions, and the things that we allow for ourselves as well. So if you are on live or on the replay, please feel free to say hello and where you are watching from, and be sure to add any of your questions in below if they are relevant or something that I can answer for you, whether it's here in the comments, on live, or on the replay, or I might use them for an upcoming topic. Please feel free to add them below. So let me backtrack, because I think sometimes when you are a high achiever, when you are a person who has care and regard for other people, which I know that if you're on here, that's you, right? So if you genuinely care for other people, then you are going to always have a little bit of a tug of war about what you think and what other people might think of you, right? And communication is such that it's not just what we say, it's not just the actions that we take, it's not just how we show up, it is what is received by the sender, right? So with communication, it is what you give and then what is received, and somewhere in the middle is the truth of what actually is there. So when we think about what other people think of you, right, like other people's opinions, and whether or not they matter, that is not the entire conversation that we're going to have today. Here is really going to be more around, why are you allowing your worries, your concerns, and your thoughts around what other people think of you and their opinions of you? Why are you allowing them to matter so much? And I'll be the first to admit that I'm human and I allow this to happen too. And so I wanted to share a personal example, because I think sometimes it's helpful when we have a real life scenario or a situation and to have it kind of broken down. Make sense? Okay. Happy birthday, Brenda. Okay. Hello, running man. So, number one, I want you to stop caring about what other people think and their opinion of you, because you don't know what kind of ripple effect that your action is going to take. So the example that I want you to think about is, when was the last time that you meant to do something? You either had a thought, you had a desire, a dream, a goal, and you allowed somebody else's opinion of you and what they might say, what they might think, stop you from actually taking that action, taking a step forward. Have you ever had a situation like that where you wanted to do something and then you immediately kind of stopped before you even began, simply because you were concerned, what will other people think? What will they say about me? And then you overthink that and then you get stuck, right? So I know that happens to a lot of people. It happens to a lot of my clients. It's happened to me. And so I wanted to share an example. Here's what I want us to understand, is that you don't know what the ripple effect is when you are being led to do something, when you are called to do something. And so I want you to understand that sometimes that small step that you're taking is not really so small. Like, it's insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but everything that we do, there is a ripple effect, right? And so sometimes we don't know what the totality of that ripple is until much, much later on. And so if you can just have faith and trust that if you're being led to do something, then why are you allowing somebody else's opinion matter more than your own? Why are you allowing somebody else and what they might say, because they may or may not even say anything, that you're making it into a bigger deal than potentially what it is? Because that's what our brain does. It starts to catastrophize. It starts to make things bigger. It's like, you know, when you look in the rear view mirror, at least here in North America, most of our mirrors, like side mirrors, will say objects, warning, objects appear larger than they are in real life. And that's what your brain will do. It will make things appear larger than they are in real life. And as a result, you might be making their opinions mean more to you than what you want to do, what your own opinions of yourself mean or are. Does that make sense? Your lazy eyes. You know what? It might be because I'm a little bit tired. So, Running Man, you're more than welcome to just leave. But thank you for your comments, right? The more you get old, the less you care about people. Yes, but we are also humans. And I know that the people that I'm called to are compassionate and they have a love for people. And so I just want you to know that if that's you, that it is okay, but also you get to choose what it is that you're going to do as your next steps. Make sense? Hello, Terry. Welcome back. Hello, Young Pinecone. Thank you for your kind words. Hi, is there anything you don't know spiritually? Yeah, I don't know a lot of stuff. I'm here to learn, and then I share what I learn. And I hope that it might be helpful for somebody else, right? I believe God gave me all the answers because I sort him like I would treasure. I'm not sure I understand that last part. Be open to difficult people. Your good connections will be even more enjoyable. Sure. Okay. Number 2. I want you to think about first order, second order, and third order consequences. And if you're not sure what this means, I want you to Google it, right? Because I'm not going to go into a whole dissection of this. But it ties into the first principle, which is really that you don't understand what your total impact might be simply because none of us knows that far off into the future. So first order consequences is what's the immediate impact? Like, if I do this, then this happens. But then, especially in complex systems, which you are, and you and I operate within a complex system, it means that there are also intended and unintended consequences, and you can't control what those consequences are. Oftentimes, we are thinking about things from a negative point of view, which means that we are considering like all the what if scenarios, and that could be the worst case scenario. Like, what if this, what if that, what if this? And then those are all of the negative Nellies that we tell ourselves. I want you to consider on the flip side, like, if you weren't here in the world, if you weren't doing the thing that you were called to do, if you didn't take the action step, if you didn't say hello to somebody, if you didn't text someone, right? I can't tell you how many times this past year and a bit that I've had a thought of, I should text that person. And I've stopped myself because it didn't really make sense, right? Now, I've learned not to do this, but I'm still human. It's still something that I also need to overcome and work within. And every single time that I don't do it, I find out later on that I should have done it anyways, right? That person needed what I was about to say. Even if it was just, I'm thinking of you, I hope everything is okay, that they were just having a really bad day, a really bad moment, and they could have used a little bit of a pick-me-up, right? So never underestimate the kind of impact that you can have, even if you feel like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't even know what I should be saying or what I should be doing. Like, it doesn't make sense, especially in those times. I really want to encourage you that those are probably the most critical times for you to do the thing that you are being led to do, even if it's crazy, because somebody else, you're the answer to their prayer, right? Like, they have been waiting for God to show them a sign. They have been waiting for, like, I just don't even know if this is supposed to be what I'm supposed to do. And then all of a sudden you show up and you send them a text, I'm just thinking of you. And they're like, oh man, that was the sign that I needed. That was the encouragement that I needed. That was the little God wink that I needed. That was the little nudge to take me off the ledge. The very first time that I ever did this, where it didn't make sense because I'm very logically driven, I texted somebody, and it wasn't somebody that I knew very well. In fact, we were perfect strangers. And yet I reached out to her, and unbeknownst to me, she was having probably the worst day up until that point of her life, as she describes it, right? Now, I didn't know this. And the fact was, I was just saying, hi, like, how are you? And just by me taking the time to spend a moment with her, it was by text, right? That she revealed to me afterwards, Susan, if you had never reached out to me, I don't know what I would have done that day. Now, she's a single mom, and she was sitting in her car crying because there were a lot of things going on in the media, and it had severely impacted her and her ability to pour into her child. And as a result, she just needed a voice that wouldn't judge her, that wouldn't condemn her, that wouldn't offer any advice, because I didn't have any advice to give in this situation, but would just be somebody who could listen and to offer up that opportunity for her to process what she was going through. And that's as simple as I could be in that moment. And yet it had a profound impact. Now, if I had allowed my opinion, right, like when she started talking, I felt very uncomfortable. For me to then go, like, that's not really what I thought this conversation was going to be about. Like, I feel ill-equipped to deal with this and manage this, right? But if I had done that, then her day would have been so bad. Again, not because of anything in particular about me, but because there was an opportunity that happened in that moment. And that if I had allowed my own opinion of what I thought was unfolding and my discomfort to pull me out of it, I wouldn't have been able to just be there for somebody who needed somebody to just be there. Does this make sense? Hello from Sri Lanka. Happy New Year, wisdom for success. Congratulations, Jacob, right? Classic game music, be a cold caller and neighbor to everyone. It really builds character. Funny story. That was the very first, my very first interaction with cold calling was when I was a teenager. I had to canvass for a politician, and I didn't understand that that was like the worst thing possible because I was a teenager. I mean, kids are really great because most of them are, if they are compliant, which I was, you give them something to do and they'll just do it. And so I got a script, did it, and went through it. And so all that to say, I agree. And man, does it build up some character, even if you don't realize that that's what it's doing, right? So the first order, second order, third order consequences are really about, it's like the movie The Butterfly Effect, right? Like a butterfly fluttering its wings on the other side of the world like if that doesn't happen, it's going to create this ripple effect. So we are all butterflies. We're bigger than butterflies. And so the very thing that you're being called to do, don't allow somebody else's opinion, especially your own, to get in the way. Okay? Because you don't know what's going to happen. And I'm going to share the actual story that I want to share that actually that precipitated this. Like that was isn't that interesting? And I wanted to share here because I just went through it. So the example that I want to give you around first order, second order, third order is because sometimes we are short-sighted and we only plan one step in advance. And I'm not telling you to like plan 1,000% out. I'm just operating in a complex situation, complex world, which we are, then it can become very short-sighted to only look at one piece of the equation. And so somebody else's opinion might only be one teeny weeny tiny piece of the entirety of your life. Like I want you to just zoom out and go like, does that really matter? Does it really matter what Aunt Margie like thinks about my spouse, my boyfriend, my children? Does it really matter when I show up on social media, right? I don't remember who was on here and was like, dang, your lazy eye is very distracting. You know what? In times past, I would have been very insecure about that because it is true. When I'm very which God woke me up this morning, which is why I'm tired because I didn't get a ton of hours of sleep. And I was thinking I might get a nap in, but it's almost 5, which is around dinner time where I live in the world. And we're on New Year's Eve and we have family over. So that whole combination of events means I probably am not going to get a nap in before the clock turns midnight. So we'll just have to make do. But in times past, somebody saying that to me, even if they were, I'm going to just give you the benefit of the doubt and say you're being honest and you're being kind, even though it may not have come across 100% that way, which I don't take it either way, right? But in times past, that would have made me feel very insecure about myself. Whereas today, I don't really care about what I look like. Not to say that I don't take care of myself, but what you think of me, I know that there are going to be people, because every single day somebody has made a comment about how nice I look and how young I look and like, wow, you look so pretty. And I appreciate those kind words, but also on the flip side, I have had equally as many people saying comments about the fact that I'm Asian or how old are you or like lazy eye is distracting, like all of these things, right? And so that's why I'm sharing this with you, because you can see real life in real time that everybody's gonna have an opinion. My husband says, I can't say what he says actually, because I have promised that I'm going to try and keep these as PG as possible, because a lot of my clients, a lot of the people who watch me have kids and I have kids. And not to say that I'm a prude, but I'm mindful of your environment and the fact that you might be watching me or listening to me with your family around. And I want it to be okay for you to do that. But he said, everybody has an opinion. They also have something else on their body part. And so, we take that with a grain of salt. So, whose opinion matters the most? I hope it's not mine, because I don't know you and I don't know everything that's going on in your life. And that's why your opinion of me, while it might be valid and it might be truthful from your perspective, it can't be the most important to me, because you know nothing about me. You don't know anything other than what I share here on this channel. And I'm hopeful that we've known each other for a period of time. Some we've known for a long period of time, some just a sneeze, right? Regardless, I hope that my intention is always that you're treated with respect, that you're treated with kindness and love and compassion. And sometimes it's not always the nicest way, because the things that we need don't have to be nice to be kind and to make a change, right? And so I'd rather be a kind voice, be a compassionate voice, hold up a mirror to truth and challenge you so that you can get on with what you need to get on with. Okay? So, first order consequences is the immediate consequence. That's easy. If I do this, then this happens. The second and the third and subsequent after that sometimes are harder to figure out or to see, because they can be after time. Okay, so I'll give you an example of one where I was able to see it right away, simply because of my experience in building lots of businesses over my corporate career and now in my business here and helping thousands of clients. So when I worked with this one client, she already had a very successful agency and we wanted to scale it. And when she hired me, she saw me as a sales consultant, which I am, but I'm so much more than a sales consultant, because I have built very successful businesses. I mean, the last startup that I built was a $15 million startup in 18 months. Okay, we were definitely on track to hit 30 million in 3 years, which was the target. Now, when she asked for help, I mapped out this whole plan, gave her the strategy, was helping her team do it. But because I only had access, like she only allowed me to manage and oversee the sales strategy, I knew, based off of my experience as a business owner, and also like this is what I did inside of my corporate companies, like for 2 decades. My parents were also small business owners. So although I wasn't personally always involved in all of the pieces, I learned a lot just because I caught it. They didn't necessarily teach it to me. I caught a lot of the stuff that I observed. So I knew that by me doubling her sales, that if she did not have her operations, her service delivery, her financials in tight order, that it would blow up her business, and not in a good way. And that's essentially what happened. So we so that's, that's the first order consequence from her perspective was amazing. We're going to increase sales, which means more money, right? That's very short-sighted, because while that may or may not be true, because it's not always true in all businesses, the second order consequence that I already knew, and the third order consequence, which I could already see based off my experience, showed that if we increase the sales and you don't have the appropriate service delivery in place, that's going to mean refunds and angry customers. It's going to mean a sales team that loses confidence because they don't feel good about what they're selling. It means that you're going to spend a lot more time and effort and energy to produce what we just sold. And that means that your costs are automatically going to go up. And so all of this meant that it was a very, very complicated mess, because there weren't specific structures and processes in place before we scaled. Now, when I'm working with clients, and a lot of my clients, you're on here already, you know that I tell you, you do not scale something if you don't already know that it's working and that it is scalable, right? So I want you to think for yourself, where are you allowing first order, second order, third order consequences to limit how you show up and where you get to be you? Are you not expressing the fullness of who you are, how you were created, right? And fulfilling the path and the purpose that you are supposed to fulfill, because you are shrinking, making yourself smaller, or allowing other people's discomfort, because that's essentially what they are, right? That they're uncomfortable with how you show up, with what you do, with your gift, with your experience, with your knowledge, the fact that you don't think the way that they think, and it makes them feel a certain way about them. Well, that's about them. It has nothing to do with you. Although they're making it be about you. It literally has nothing to do with you. That is the work that they need to do between them, themselves, God, Holy Spirit. Okay? So the third thing, when we are worried and concerned, and when other people are sometimes well-meaning, but it doesn't always come out the way that they intend, or maybe it does, we are all craving connection. We are all craving connection, and ultimately, we all want to feel like we belong somewhere, right? And this all comes down to, at the core, we want to be safe. We want to be safe to be ourselves. And so I want to challenge you, when you're allowing other people and their opinions to stop you, is there a part of you that does not feel safe? And I want you to challenge yourself, because most of the time, the thing that we want to do, it doesn't actually put us in a place where we are unsafe. Now, again, this is why you have to check for yourself. It may or may not, I don't know. But I would say that in the Western world, at least, most of us are going to be safe to express who we are, how we are, right? Whose we are and what we want to do, without a lot of implications or consequences. That's not to say there's no consequences, because I just shared with you, there are absolute consequences to us and the actions that we take, but there's also consequences for us not taking the actions that we want to take. You have to weigh those out, right? So I want us to recognize that this craving for connection means that we often are going to stay connected to people and the opinions that don't really matter. They are still important, but they really don't matter, right? And so when you recognize that, then you can unhook from that. You can decide a different path, and you can decide to let that go. I usually tell this to a lot of my clients: you bless and release them, right? I have no ill will to anybody who ever comes on this channel to say whatever they want to say, because you are entitled to your own opinion. But the fact of the matter is that you have a choice of where you get to spend your time. And you choosing to spend your time to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk on somebody else's channel when you have the ability to go and talk about it on your own channel is a bit of a head scratcher to me, right? And so perhaps me showing up, well, I'll give you the courage. Like that's my hope, is that you would have the courageous boldness and just a spark in your spirit, right? I don't know if Jacob's still on here, but Jacob has been on these videos, and he posted his first video, and I don't know 100% that was because he has been watching some of the things that I've been talking about, but maybe. And at the end of the day, even if it was, the fact is that you have to take your own action. You have to decide, okay, I've been triggered. Like, I'm watching this and they have the life that I want to live. What are you going to do as a result of having that recognition, having that awareness? I already have the life that I want to live, and every day I fight for it. And if you haven't heard my story of Breakdown to Breakthrough, go and watch that, because 10 years ago, I did not have the luxury of being able to make that choice and that decision. I thought I was going to die, right? So me being here, I have seen death, and I'm not scared of death, which means I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of anything. Does that mean that I'm going to go off into this great wide world and do foolish and stupid things? No, but I'm still human. And so it's something that I have to constantly remind myself of. Like, I'm not going to die. I am okay. This isn't as bad as it's going to be. And I still slip up. I still make mistakes, which is why I'm going to share how this mistake happened and then how I rectified that, because I just fixed it right before I got on this video. So most of the time, the thing that we want to do, that we are concerned or worried that somebody has an opinion of us, is not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Like, I want you to just think it all the way through. What's the worst case scenario? If this happens, then this happens, and this happens, and this happens. Like, okay, are you still okay with that? Right? What I know is that when you are able to do that and do it anyways, even if it is scary, even if it is uncomfortable, despite all of that, that you build up trust and resilience in yourself. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, there you are, right? You can run, but you cannot hide from yourself. You are the only person that will always be with you all the time. And that means that if you're looking to other people to fulfill this void for you, you're going to be sadly disappointed every single time, because they cannot fulfill for you something that you cannot give to yourself, because you are with you all the time, right? Number 4, I want you to see, are you addicted to approval? So hello, my people pleasers out there. This also includes folks who might be recovering perfectionists, or maybe you are a perfectionist and you're concerned about doing it right. If you have been in a culture or a company, like an organization, a workplace that really touts, like, follow the rules and you got to do this, I share that because my background is finance, which is very heavily compliant. That means that if I broke the rules or my teams broke the rules, there would be legal and financial implications as a result. So it was not a small joke. It wasn't just like oh, sorry, you made a mistake. In some cases, it would be, that's not so good, right? And so some of this, although logically I know it, I have to let go, and actively choose this, because for 2 decades of my life, plus I'm a girl. I guess a woman now. I'm a woman, right? There are certain biases that society has around how women operate. Says who? But this is where we are. Number 2, my race, right? There's certain things that Asian people culturally have been used to doing. So wherever it is that you come from in the world, just recognize and notice that as well, that these might be ingrained patterns. And so give yourself some grace. Like, if you are struggling, just don't give yourself a pass, but know that if you are continuing to move forward, that there are some real things that I recognize that you are fighting against, right? And you get to choose Is this a battle that I want to fight today or tomorrow or the next day? And how do I let go of some of these stories and these paradigms? Because engaging in repeating these stories is what keeps them alive, right? And I would just encourage all of us, says who? And why does it have to keep being done same old way if we want different results? And if you don't want different results, then this is probably not the video or the channel for you, okay? So this infiltrates our subconscious. So that was the last one. Okay, so let me just do a quick recap and then we'll do Q&A before I hop off and head out for the evening, and wish you all the very best of the new year, right? So stop worrying about other people's opinions. That was everything that I wanted to share today. I'm sure there'll be more. The story that I wanted to share, which will culminate the 4 key points that I described already. When I was visiting family for Christmas, so just recently, I went through and I heard God say to do something. And I did most of it, but I was very nervous in doing it. I'm going to have to share what it was. Running Man, take a break for tonight. Thank you. I appreciate your kind words there. So I was supposed to anoint their house, which I did, right? Now, the other part was I was called to, hashtag real life. They wanted to wash the dog. And I'm in the bathroom, so they have to find another bathroom to do that. So I heard God say, anoint the house, which I did. While I was going through, I was very nervous. Now, oh my gosh. I had already told them that I was going to anoint the house. So they already knew. So it wasn't something that I was doing like I'm trying to hide, I'm doing this. But as I was going through, I heard God say to anoint everybody, right? The people who actually live in the house. And I didn't. Now I anointed 1 out of 3. I didn't anoint the other 2 because I felt very uncomfortable doing it. I felt like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. This is really awkward. Like, how do I explain myself? This is weird. Now, these are all the things that I was talking into my own head, right? So today, family has come to visit. And one of the 3 is very ill. Now, was not ill when we were visiting. You might be catching my drift in terms of where this story is going, especially if you are, more attuned to spiritual things. So immediately, so this is where I'm saying, like, we don't always know what the ripple effect is. We don't always know why we're being led to do something. It may or may not even make sense, but we need to do it and do it all the way through. Because if I hadn't intervened in my own situation there, then who knows what would have happened? Would they have gotten sick or not sick? I don't know. But what I do know is that I was supposed to have done something, and I let other people's opinion, and these are my family. These are people who love me. These are people who care for me. These are people who probably didn't care because I just did it. I had to go through and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Repented, and then I went ahead and grabbed my oil and said, I'm going to finish what I started because I should have finished it when I was told to finish it. And as a result, I went and did it. Now, did I still feel awkward? Yeah, I did. But because I had experienced the fact that perhaps if I had just followed through the first time, then maybe those things wouldn't have escalated. The reality is that now I have an opportunity. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say, because I did this, instant healing. That's up to God. But what I can say is that I allowed somebody else's opinion to stand in the way of something that was very small, that was very simple, but I don't know how it is connected to other things. And because I understand how complex systems work, and I understand that we are all interconnected, that there is no way for me to say right now, without a shadow of a doubt, that if I don't do this, that nothing else will happen. I can't say that. And so for me, I would much rather that I just do what I have felt led to do, because I let my own opinion and my fears and worries and concerns over what would they say, what will they ask, like how will I answer? They didn't do any of that. They did think it was, they were like, okay, but they were fine. They literally were fine, right? It was a little uncomfortable, but it was mostly around me. Like once I realized, like, I'm not uncomfortable about doing this, I need to finish this, and I have the power and the authority to do this because this is something that I feel led to do, then they just chilled out, right? So oftentimes the things that we make out to be those big molehills into mountains are, we're making it much worse than they actually are in real life. And as a result, other people can feel that. They can feel your energy. They can feel your discomfort. They can feel that you're uncertain. And here's what I know, that until you do the thing, you're not going to be certain. Until you actually take that action and that step forward, it is going to be uncomfortable until it's not. And you will not be able to practice this without actually doing it. Right? It's not something that you can just, I'm going to just practice it over and over again. You can to a point, but then there will be a situation where you just got to go and do the darn thing, right? Like I was a competitive gymnast for a long time when I was a child in my teenage years. And we visualized over and over and over again. And if you've been in any competitive sports, you know that that is a real practice, right? Because your brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. But at the same time, I cannot win a competition. I cannot win a gymnastics meet if I don't go out onto the floor, if I don't go out onto the balance beam, if I don't run the routine that I now am practicing in my head, right? Like that's well and good, but only to a point. And then I got to go and do the thing that I've practiced. So that for you, let that be a reminder that other people's opinions may be important, but they shouldn't be more important than your own. And they certainly shouldn't stand in the way of what it is that you are meant to be doing, right? That you are meant to be doing. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm just gonna go back and quickly look at any questions. If you are on here live, please feel free to add them in the comments below. Let's see. Classic game music, if you're in business, reputation is everything. That's for starters. I agree. But again, there's a lot of people who are out to just get people. I'm just going to say that, right? And so at the same time, if you are so concerned about what other people think of you, you will never get anything done. That's not to say that you're not, I'm talking to people of integrity, right? Because that's who I'm called to. And that's who I know that I tend to attract and work with. Most people who don't have integrity and don't have a good reputation simply because they're not the person of character won't watch this video. Like they just won't. I know that because I can see based off of comments and based off of interactions, and because I'm a seer. So I can literally see them. But I know that if you are cultivating integrity within your brand, your business, your results, how you show up, what you say, and there's integrity between all of those pieces, alignment between all those pieces, and it's congruent, which just means that you do what you say and you say what you do. And as a result, people can trust you. Then you build up a reputation for somebody who is trustworthy. And then when other people's opinions that come in and say, you didn't deliver what I wanted, don't let it affect you, because that's one opinion. And maybe it's 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000. Look for ways to improve. Look for ways to address the very concern that they brought up. See if it's real or not, and then be able to just move on, as opposed to, oh my gosh, this is the end of my business and I'm never going to be able to recover from that. That's a very different scenario. And I'm not saying that that's what you're suggesting, but I've seen time and time again, unfortunately, where people who are sensitive, people who are more compassionate and have a high degree of empathy, that are leaders and called to help a lot of people, but have a high degree of just empathy for how other people are, that they take that upon themselves. And unfortunately, it can stop them. And I don't want that to be you in case that is you right now. I hope that makes sense, okay? Let's see. If you are an average Joe or Jane, then just you cannot care as much as what others say. I agree. Hello, Lando. You can have a shout out, sure. Classic game music, despise not the small beginnings. Absolutely. I agree. Running Man, my ambition is in fitness, not people. Amazing. I love fitness. Young Pinecone, I hope your new year is going well also. Proverbs 2 and 4, King James, seek God like you would seek treasure. Thank you, Terry. Okay, I'm just seeing. Hello, Linda. Happy New Year in advance to you too. Classic Game Music is asking, if you offer truth, is that an opinion? I would say not at all. You look good. Don't worry about the superficial. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. If you offer truth, is that an opinion? Well, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so I know that's a little bit cryptic, but I also know that I know what you're getting at. So truth always points to truth, but the world is full of deception that unfortunately a lot of people wouldn't know truth if it hit them in the face. And as a result, if you are speaking truth, then you have to be able to understand how to reach the people that need to hear it the most, right? And so how does that work? It's going to depend. I know for me that I am called to both the marketplace and then the other place, the non-marketplace. But the main place that I am called to is the marketplace, which is the place of business. And as a result, I speak to people who both believe and also don't believe. And that means that I have to be very mindful of the language that I use, not because I'm trying to hide the truth, right? Jesus is the truth, the light, and the way, but because some people are not receptive to it. They're not ready because they're in a place in their journey where they're not there yet. And so just like I would not feed my children, a leg of lamb when they are 6 months and about to start eating pablum or rice, like mushy rice for the first time, I have to adjust the diet. That's why in the Bible it says that when you are a child, you have milk as opposed to eating meat, right? And so as we are able to engage in a higher level conversation, and this is where you have to be able to decide where are people at, and you have to be able to discern truth from not truth. But here's what I know is that truth always points to truth, which means that regardless of what domain that you're in. So as an example, in the world of English language, because that's my area of, I hate saying expertise, but that's what I went to school for, that there are certain rules of English that for the most part, they're being done away with. But regardless, those rules point to certain things that are tried and true, right? Most of the things that are in there, so that's probably not the best example. So let's use math or science. So math and science are proving through their truths the things that are written in ancient truths. For me, that comes from the Bible. For you, maybe that's somewhere else. So because of that, I am not threatened when other people start challenging and asking about, well, what about this or what about that? If that's an easier domain to have an understanding of revelation in order to start moving towards the direction of the truth for you, then that's the language that we're going to speak. I hope that makes sense, right? So everybody's opinion, they're going to have one, just like I do, because we're human. And yet, whose opinion matters the most? It's your one beautiful life. And I would hope, I pray, that as we switch over into a brand new year, that you no longer allow other people's opinions of yourself and the things that you are about to embark on, the changes that are happening, that you don't let them get in the way of what it is that you are called to do. The I wasn't planning to share this, but the next 5 years are going to be very different. Okay, they're going to be very different. And as a result, it means that if you allow your insecurities, if you allow the challenges of life to not be met with, bravery and boldness, confidence, conviction, and a faith in something. I don't know what that is for you. I know what my faith is in. But if you don't allow those pieces to help you through, the road is going to look very rocky. And people are going to have an opinion, even if they have no merit at all, meaning they don't have any backing, they don't have any there's no research involved with this. And I'm not saying that everything needs research, but I'm going to tell you that over the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of stuff where the science is going to say something, the math is going to say something, the media is going to say something, your family is going to say something, your clients are going to say something, your business is going to say something, and then God is going to say something else. And if you don't know, really, really, really shaky, right? And yet there will be a remnant. There will be a small portion of the world's population that will be a beacon, a shining light that will not only survive, but will be extremely successful. And as a result, will bring people to the kingdom of God, will bring people who desire to see something that is beyond material riches. And that's not to say that you can't have the material riches. In fact, that is what's going to attract people initially, is that your health, your well-being, your family relationships, the peace of mind that you have cultivated, the businesses that you have built, the income streams that you have created, that is going to help supply the lack that is going to happen in the world. And people are going to ask questions around, how did you do that? How did you survive? How did you overcome? Right? When you share your story, your testimony, your ability to have gone from here to here, that people are going to wonder, like, how is that possible? What did you do? And as you continue to share these stories, and yes, you're going to make money from your story. You're going to make money from the strategies that you have been able to employ, right? The very things that you're like, wow, I just went through that. That is the thing that is going to put food on your table and feed your family, not just for one generation, but for multiples. And if you would have eyes to see and ears to hear, and I don't know who this was for, because this is not what I was planning to share. So Holy Spirit had his way. You are going to see a mighty move of God and his Spirit. And I declare this over you because I wasn't planning to share this. 2025 is a breakthrough year. 2025 is a breakthrough year. And that word is very loaded, and it is more than just, yay. There's always a caveat, right? Because breakthrough, there's spillover effect. There's stuff that happens as a result. So that's all I can share. The rest of this word, if I'm being released to share it, will either be here, if God says, or it will be over on my prophetic channel, which is Knowing God's Voice. So be sure to follow that if that's an area that you want to stay connected or tapped into for me, right? If it's for anybody else, then feel free to follow those channels. Make sense? Okay? Wisdom for six, just like Joseph. Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. And your preparation is prophetic. So these words that I share now are only applicable for people who have been preparing. And if you have been floundering, now is the time to get locked in, because it's not too late. But if you don't hear God, you better find somebody who hears God. And because I know everybody has the ability to hear God, but your own opinion, just like I shared with you, like I heard God. I know I hear God. And yet I didn't follow all the way through. I did 80%. I did 90%. But the last 2% that I missed, they were a big one. And as a result, now there could be spillover effect that's not just impacting that immediate issue, but over and over and over. And I know based off of my experience and seeing this happen in business domains, in health domains, in relationship domains, that I know better. And yet, I'm here to tell you that I didn't do it all the way through because I'm human. And because I let my own opinion about what if they ask me questions, what if they say something? Like, who cares? Who cares at the end of the day? But I cared. I still care because I'm a human who cares. And sometimes that care is my greatest strength. It's also my biggest weakness because it means that I will care deeply about some of the things that don't really matter, right? I'm not saying don't care about other people. I'm saying think about what is that opinion and is that the most important thing in this moment when you think through your ripple effect, when you think about the impact that you're trying to make, when you think about the first order consequence, the second order consequence, the third order, we can't see that far in advance, right? It doesn't matter how much of a planner you are. You cannot plan for all outcomes in all areas, accounting for all variables. There is literally no way, even if you feed it into AI, right? There's too many different pieces, and anybody that does math knows that if you're trying to solve an equation and it's multivariate, meaning there are multiple variables that you don't have an answer for, it is unsolvable. It is unsolvable. So we are trying to solve unsolvable questions or unsolvable equations and then wondering why we're stuck. Well, you're stuck because you have too many variables involved. And so if you take yourself as a variable, that's a big question mark, and now you plug yourself in and say, you know what, I'm just going to answer the call. I'm just going to do what I'm led to do. And I'm just going to let go of what other people think because I don't control that. And they can think what they want to think, and I'm still going to think what I'm going to think, and I'm still going to move forward, regardless of what that looks like. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So, thank you, God, because I don't know why all of that came through. Can you do me a favor? If this was helpful for somebody else, if this was helpful for you, can you just thumbs up? It's just so that I know that because I go back and I look at the data, and sometimes I am not always remembering, right? And so I look at like what the data tells me. So if this was a helpful topic, if this was something that you felt was beneficial for you, just give it a thumbs up. Okay. And if this was something that you know would help somebody else, feel free to send this to them, because I think this is one of those topics that we don't often think about. And again, this is where you're going to have to take the leap of faith, right? Because as I said that, someone on here, maybe all the someone's on here, whether on the replay, you immediately got a name. You immediately thought of somebody. You might have thought of multiple people. And then the voices, just like I shared with you, this is how it happens. Oh, but I don't even know I don't even know if they're on YouTube. I don't even know if they would watch this. I don't know if they would, if they are concerned with what other people think of them. They seem to be so much. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now that this is your opportunity to just do it and to practice this skill, because it's a muscle. And the more that we build this up, the easier it gets. And the easier it gets, the less we care about the things that don't matter. And then you can actually do the things that really make the biggest difference. But here's what I want you to know. It is the tiniest things that are the biggest levers in your life. They're the things that you don't even understand why you're being led to do them. And so often we're sold this story of big thing. I get it, right? I'm in sales and marketing. I understand, there's a balance, because I get that I have, this is what sells, but at the same time, I'm like, that's not what actually drives the results. The saying that there are small hinges that swing big doors That is a real saying for a real reason, which is that without a hinge, you would not be able to open the door. So that small, tiny thing, somebody had to transform an idea and look at what has always been done, which was we just have this big opening in this building. How can I make it so that it's easier for people to go in and out? And also, it serves as protection. It serves as a way to keep the outside out and the inside in, right? And to be able to do that with limited technology. Think about how old doors are. And to then go and create a hinge, like here's a door, here's a hinge, right? That hinge has the ability to move a big door. Think about the power, right? And so we're so caught up in the door, the door, the door. Great. That is the point too. We want to enter and access the doors that move us into opportunity, but don't forget about the hinge. Don't forget about the small thing that makes opening the door so much easier, right? So that you don't have to force your way through it. So, quick recap for this 4. Number 1, you don't know what your total impact is, right? The ripple effect. Number 2 is first order, second order, third order consequences and beyond. I want you to Google that if you're like, I need to understand that a little bit more. The more complex the system is, we live in a complex system right now, and that means there is no possible way for you to know all of the consequences. You can kind of plot them out, but because of that, there is only one force that knows that. For me, I call that God, right? Number 3, that oftentimes when we are wary or worried about people's opinions, it's because we're craving connection, right? So think about, what are you trying to connect to? What are you trying to belong to? And ultimately, is it actually unsafe for you to share your opinion? Is it unsafe for you to do the thing that you want to do? And if the answer is no, it's not unsafe, then why are you not doing it? Then the last one is people pleasers, wanting to do it right, all of our folks who are looking for approval. If we want to change the paradigm, if we want to change the narrative around the world that we live in, then, like as Gandhi said, we have to be the change that we want to see in the world. And so for us to keep doing the same old same thing just because that's the way that it's been done, we have to break that chain. And yeah, it's hard. It is hard. It is heavy at times, right? But that's only because you're trying to carry the load yourself. Let it go. And at the same time, just keep moving forward, because that's the fastest way for you to make progress, is little by little, moment by moment, we create momentum. And so sometimes we're looking at, again, big doors, as opposed to looking at what are the small hinges, because those small hinges create a lot of momentum. And that momentum is created moment by moment, not big leap by big leap. It might feel like a big leap, but I really want to encourage you to slow down and look at what are the small hinges and what are the moments. And in that moment, can you make a different decision so that you can get a different outcome, and not allow other people's opinions to hold you back, especially not in 2025. There is too much opportunity and there is too much change that is happening in the world at large, and that will only keep rising in the next 5 years. And so I want you to, tonight, so I'm going to applaud those of you that took action, because you've already told yourself, I can trust myself. I can rely on myself. I am resilient, and I am taking bold action. And those wins, those W's, they stack on each other, right? So celebrate, because this year, regardless of whether or not you achieved all the stuff that you wanted to achieve, regardless of what more work you have that you still want to get done, that you are still here. you are still a gift to the world, that you are still blessed to be a blessing, and that there is still an opportunity for you to change your own life first, because you can't change other people's lives until you've first changed your own. And by virtue of you being here, that there is still time. So never think that you've run out of time. Never think that it's too late. Never allow somebody else to put you in a place where you don't belong. You belong where you want to go. And tonight, I hope and I pray that your eyes are opened to the world of possibility. And if you need help with that, go grab my vision workshop. The link is in the description, because that will be helpful for you. But I want you to look at this coming year as a brand new start. Like, just wipe the slate clean and don't bring any of that baggage into the new year. Promise me. Will you do that? Because that's how you allow yourself to have infinite possibility. And I know that some of you are being challenged right now because you're thinking, that's not reality, Susan. Like, do you know what I'm dealing with? I don't, but I also know that the fact that you're here, that there is still hope and your faith with a new promise that you just watch what God will do, right? And you don't have to do it overnight, but you do need to just have that small little mustard seed of faith that will allow you to keep moving. And when you partner with God, divine forces, they will rise up to meet you, and you'll be surprised by how much those mountains start to get flattened. And if you need a story that will help you, go and listen to my Breakdown to Breakthrough story, because that will probably help you in some way. I don't even remember all of what I shared, but I guarantee that there's something in there that might help you. Okay, so with that, I wish you the very best. Have an amazing new year, and we will still see you again tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.